Anyway,
Oh.
all right. It is time for the movie review. So let's get to that.
In a world of movie references flying over his head, one man will finally watch them. This is the Matt and Blonde Show movie review.
This week's movie is the 1994 black comedy crime film Pulp Fiction, in which a pair of philosophically pondering hitmen and a backstabbing boxer collide in their interactions with a crime boss who gets strangely violated in the basement of a Dixie-themed pawn shop. From movie picker Matt P., this is the movie that made Quentin Tarantino. Great dialogue and very different from any other movie at the time. The sequencing is odd until the end of the movie. As always, your thoughts and your rating.
I just realized my movie review is so short. But I can't think of another film that had me laughing out loud when somebody accidentally gets shot in the head. I don't know why that scene was so funny. It was just the carelessness of John Travolta. He's so bad at his job. He's just like the shittiest hitman. And generally, you know, I don't really like Tarantino. I hated Reservoir Dogs. I've hated a lot of his movies. It's like he has a cinematography stamp and he's just kind of a one-trick pony. All of his movies are derivative.
Pony.
Yeah, a one-horse pony. They're all derivative of Pulp Fiction, but without the wit or the charm or the cohesion. I know the sequence of this movie is really weird, but it really works. And I've always liked this movie. Although I do think it's a little bit overrated. It has reached this status of like epic cult classic. And for that reason, I gave it a 4 out of 5. But this is Tarantino's best film. It truly is. Lots of laughs. And the most important thing, Bruce Willis' leading lady was cast appropriately. She's kind of weird looking, but I think she's really hot. And I appreciated that.
At first, I thought she was Asian. And
no,
then she turned out to be like,
she's like
French or something. Yeah. Well,
nice
son of a bitch,
subdued.
dude.
Yeah.
We can't get off this synchronization. I thought.
Did you
like
it?
I was thinking this week's going to be the one because I know that. Well, I know you've had some Tarantino hatred. I knew that, so I kind of expected you to hate it a little bit more. And this is one of those movies that, I mean, I enjoyed it. First of all, I'd seen it like 15 years ago, half watching it. So it's not the first time I've seen it, but it's the first time that I sat down and really paid attention. So it basically was a first view. And it was the sort of movie where I liked it on first watch, but it actually grew on me over the coming days because there were so many things that I was thinking about, which is my mark of a good movie. It kind of stuck in my brain and I was trying to figure out certain things about it. So I actually did give it the same rating.
Really?
I'm going to give it an outrageous rating to something next week, just on principle. But okay, so why did I like this movie? Well, first of all, I think this is, you say how this was kind of, that Pulp Fiction, everything else Tarantino did was a derivative of that. I feel the same way about Samuel L. Jackson, that this was his best performance and everything else is, he's done other great roles. I love him in Star Wars as Mace Windu. But you can sort of see how every other character is kind of a derivative of this one. The big glaring eyes and the stern, elaborate lines. I just loved his performance. And actually, I was reading about it. Apparently, at least a source I saw said that the role was written for Samuel L. Jackson, but there must have been some audition formalities or something because Lawrence Fishburne also auditioned.
Really?
And then Lawrence Fishburne shows up. He didn't like the movie because he thought that it had too much drug promotion or something. Jackson shows up. They say, "Welcome, Mr. Fishburne." And he gets all pissed off because he was mistaken for Lawrence Fishburne, as everybody always confuses them. And I guess that helped him crush the performance. And the rest is history because
that helped him crush it. That's
what the sources say, that he was really pissed off at his audition because he was mistaken for Lawrence Fishburne. Often I'm very critical of these kind of non-linear narratives because usually it comes off as just kind of like pointless artsiness to me. You're making things more complicated than they need to be just to be weird or strange. This is such a rare movie with basically 3 stories intertwining but I didn't feel like I was confused. I didn't have to stop and figure out who's that guy, what's he doing, where is this, why is this happening. I felt that way with Snatch. Like Snatch had me lost, and it's kind of similarly interweaving in that way. But this wasn't. Yeah. It was such an achievement to me to have these complex intertwining storylines where I'm not confused and I'm noticing the little details that you're supposed to notice that connect later. So obviously you leave the opening scene with the robbery at the diner. You don't really know what that means until it's all wrapped up at the end. You remember it. It's very clean and it all wraps up nicely. You see Vincent and Jules in Marcellus's club with weird t-shirts on. Like, well, what the hell is that? Because they were just wearing those hitmen suits until that gets tied up at the end of the movie. You see a hostile exchange between Butch and Vincent at the bar.
Yeah.
Kind of foreshadows Butch killing Vincent later in the movie. There's a lot of complex things. I put an infographic in the review to show how complex the story actually is, but it all weaves together so nicely, and it's just not confusing. I felt satisfied at the end to see how all the pieces tied up together instead of just...
It was satisfying, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a rare achievement. So I appreciated that. There are a lot of metaphors in this movie. There's kind of the gold watch and what it means, like the symbol of a family heirloom and family love. Breakfast is a big theme of the movie. There's a lot of contemplation and revelation happening at breakfast.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that didn't occur to me.
I can't get over this metaphor, this symbol, or this motif of the bathroom, because the bathroom, anytime, specifically Vincent, but when other people go to the bathroom, that means something significant is about to happen. So obviously Vincent is in the bathroom when Mia overdoses. Vincent is in the bathroom when the diner robbery starts. He's in the bathroom when he gets killed by Butch. Mm-hmm. And at Brett's apartment, when they kill him for double crossing Marcellus, there's a guy hiding in the bathroom who nearly kills them both. And I've been reading a lot about this because I just find that so fascinating. And the general consensus is, well, it's a symbol for bad luck. And that's plausible. There's bad luck that strikes every time specifically Vincent goes to the bathroom. But to me, it's not satisfying because it sort of depends on whose perspective. There's good luck associated with the bathroom too. Vincent, when he goes to the bathroom at the diner, he's able to hold up Honey Bunny, the woman. He's given an advantage because he comes out of the bathroom. So that's not really bad luck.
It's all traced back to some weird perversion that
it might be
Tarantino has. Like he must be obsessed with Blumpkins or something.
I'm surprised you know the term. I do know what that is. We've probably talked about Blumpkins before.
It's called a hot Carl in the Midwest.
No, that's a different thing.
No, we've talked about this before on the channel.
No, a hot Carl is a different thing.
It's a regional thing. It's the same thing.
Okay, let me see. I know we've talked about this. No, they're totally different things. They're totally different things.
Hot Carl Urban.
Okay. Anyway, the bathroom is good luck for Butch because the only reason he's able to kill Vincent is because of Vincent going into the bathroom. Anyway, obviously I've thought a lot about this, and it might be like the ultimate metaphor, the ultimate kind of I don't know, just sort of pretentious metaphor, because another theory on what Tarantino is symbolizing is just the futility of trying to turn shit into gold. So you could sit in the bathroom all day trying to turn shit into gold, but it's a waste of time. And maybe I'm doing exactly that by overthinking this metaphor itself, which is cool to think about. It really doesn't lead anywhere. I'm not even clear on it because what's the conclusion? Am I supposed to avoid the bathroom, not spend that much time in how? Like, we all have to use the bathroom. So there's no real conclusion to it at all. It's just, it had me thinking for so long that I have to give it credit for that.
That's the mark of a good movie, or at least an interesting one.
Are you ready to concede that a hot Carl and a Blumpkin are different things?
They are different things.
Yeah. I swear we've had this conversation before, now that I think about it. We must have. Okay, last thing on what I love about the movie. Obviously, what stands out is the obvious moment, the memory of the movie is Jules reciting Ezekiel 25:17 as he does twice, once when they kill Brett and once when he holds up Ringo. And at the end of the movie, when he offers more thinking about that verse, I thought it was a really great way to finish the movie, but just a really philosophically powerful dialogue or monologue. The Bible verse is actually, it's false or fake. It's written by Tarantino based on a real Bible verse, but it's expanded. But Jules is sitting there in front of Ringo and trying to figure out, okay, there are three people in this story. There's the shepherd, there is the tyrant, and there are the weak. And who's who? Who's the shepherd, who's the tyrant, and who's the weak? And he kind of considers who might fill each role. And I just thought it was so fascinating because obviously we all want to be the shepherd. We want to be the good guy fighting on behalf of the weak against the evil guy. And sometimes we get confused and we end up being the evil guy. You don't want to be that. But the conclusion at the end is, Ringo, you're the weak. And even though the tyrant is a bad, evil man, the worst thing to be is the weak.
Yep.
It's not actually the tyrant. And I thought that was just such an interesting concept, especially in some of the, current times where we really have to evaluate what sort of tactics we're trying to use to achieve certain ends, and all the moral implications of that. The lesson of what he's explaining there is you got to do your best to be good, but whatever you do, don't become weak. Weak is the worst possible thing that you can be. And I think there's a lot of profound wisdom in that.
Yeah.
I think it's something we should all, including myself, I think I should consider that a lot. It's like, obviously I have a lot of hesitation about deploying, so-called immoral, evil tactics, and I'm going to stick to that. But you don't want to stick to that to a degree that you are weak and able to be dominated. Because if you're the weak in this situation, you're either led by the shepherd or dominated by the tyrant. Yeah. But in either situation, you're controlled by other people, and all you have to bet on is their goodwill. It's not a good bet to make.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and it had me thinking about it for a long time afterward. I'll be quick on what I didn't like, because I know I'm going on here.
That's okay.
I'm surprised you don't think the movie's too long, because that's usually your go-to.
How long is it?
It's over 2.5 hours. It's like 2 hours 34.
Yeah, it's too long. But I'm willing to overlook that periodically.
It does have a lot of, at least in my watch. After the watch, I thought, man, they kind of wasted a lot of time with dialogue and just establishing shots. I think of like Butch's taxi ride was almost totally unnecessary. At least it seemed. There was a lot of establishing shots at the restaurant when Mia and Vincent go on their date. There was, of course, Tarantino's obligatory scene in the kitchen that we talked about with the chatter saying, just sitting around in his pajamas saying the N-word. I thought about this later. There might be kind of a philosophical reason for that, because of course Mia's whole point at the restaurant is, why do we have to sit around and talk about bullshit to feel comfortable?
Yeah.
And then they go on and kind of talk about bullshit all throughout the movie, but it's a lot of sort of philosophically oriented bullshit, like I was just discussing. And so maybe the lesson is, it's not as bullshit as we think it is. Maybe there's more value to it, or maybe the movie is wasting our time to illustrate a point about wasting time. In either case, I think the movie could be a little tighter, probably better presented if it could get closer to 2 hours. But, I was entertained throughout, so it's not that big of a criticism. And I don't know if maybe it's just my wife and me. You tell me, was John Travolta's accent in this movie really weird and dumb?
Yeah, he always overdoes it. But in this role, I thought it was fine because every person was kind of a caricature.
It's like
they were so out there. Like Mia especially was so out there.
See, I thought he was supposed to be kind of like a Southern man, and my wife was saying he was trying to fit in with like the sort of the black community of Jules.
Maybe.
And I was like, but his accent seemed to fade in and out. It's like sometimes he had this heavy drawl, and sometimes he was just talking normally.
He just seemed like a jazz man to me.
It's just like, just get rid of this stupid ass accent. It serves no purpose to your character. Anyway, I almost talked myself into a 5 wiki because I thought about this so much after the fact.
Did you give it 4?
I did give it 4 just because I think it wasted a little bit of time. Just like, me talking about it for 10 minutes longer than I needed to. But it gets a 4.
All right.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Let me refresh here and see what the audience gives it in the early vote. High praise. Almost, well... it's 5 wiki vote from 43% of the early voters, 44%. 30% after that, 31% think 4. So we've only had just a handful of 1 or 2 wiki votes out of 124 early votes. So
maybe our audience won't hate us so much this week.
Well, maybe. I definitely did enjoy the movie, and perhaps I'll watch it again to notice some things I didn't see the first, at least truly attentive time around. Let's see. As far as next week, we have Black Hawk Down. So I've already revealed my opinion of that movie, but I also haven't watched it for like at least 15 years.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I'm excited to rewatch it. And then after that, we have fresh nominations for April from listener Amanda. They are 12 Angry Men, True Grit, the 2010 version. That's key.
I just watched that.
Not the new version or the old one?
The new one.
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Pitch Black, Apollo 13, Galaxy Quest, and The Iron Giant are the nominees for April. Or, of course,
it's a pretty good list.
I've seen True Grit. I think that's the only, and Apollo 13. That's the only ones I've seen. Of course, you can reject the list as well and pick a randomly selected top-rated movie instead. And as a reminder, if you'd like to read my weekly movie reviews or comment how wrong I am or submit your own rating, and vote for the next movie as well, or sign up for the chance to be the movie nominator for the month, the one and only place to do it is in my weekly movie review column, linked in the description and on the homepage of the website. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com. That will do it for tonight.